On Thursday, December 1st, 2022, former President Barack Obama returned to the campaign trail for a rally in Atlanta in support of Senator Raphael Gamaliel Warnock.
The runoff election is almost here, and tomorrow is your last day to early vote. Otherwise, you'll have to wait until next Tuesday to cast your ballot. The Senate race is what so many of us are talking about. In our exclusive 11 Alive Survey USA poll shows Senator Raphael Warnock with a slight lead over Herschel Walker, with 4% still undecided. Both candidates were out on the campaign trail tonight trying to sway voters. Former President Barack Obama in Atlanta stumping for Senator Warnock.
Former President Barack Obama broke down what he believes are some of the benefits for voting for Senator Raphael Warnock, saying even though the Democrats control the Senate, there's a lot at stake.
It'll help prevent Republicans from getting a filibuster-proof majority that could allow them to do things like passing a federal abortion ban.
Notice the primary reason Obama cited as to why voters should support Senator Warnock was to prevent Republicans from passing a ban on abortion. Since Obama has been connected with the horned bull god Baal or Molech, to whom children were sacrificed to, it is quite obvious why he chose the Obamaination of abortion as the main thrust of his argument. As we continue in this study, Obama's connection to the horned bull god Baal will be proven further. During his speech, Obama made fun of Herschel Walker when he made reference to a clip from a recent speech Walker made in which he talked about watching a film about vampires versus werewolves.
The other night I was watching this movie. Called Fright Night, Freak Night, or some type of night, but it's about vampires. I don't know if you know vampires are cool people or not, but I'm telling you something that I found out. A werewolf can kill a vampire. Did you know that? I never knew that, so I didn't want to be a vampire anymore. I want to be a werewolf.
Each and every day brings some new piece of news demonstrating just what a terrible candidate Mr. Walker is. Tonight, former President Barack Obama was in Georgia at a rally for Warnock, and man, it was not pretty for Herschel Walker.
Since the last time I was here, Mr. Walker has been talking about issues that are of great importance to the people of Georgia. Like whether it's better to be a vampire or a werewolf. This is a debate that I must confess I once had myself. When I was 7. Then I grew up. In case you're wondering, by the way, Mr. Walker decided he wanted to be a werewolf. Which is great. As far as I'm concerned, he can be anything he wants to be, except for a United States Senator.
If you've been paying attention, then you will remember in the previous video concerning Balenciaga, which is associated with the phrase Baal is king, I made mention of how Balenciaga bore an uncanny resemblance to the vampire Dracula, who is the son of the devil. Not only that, but you will also remember that we discussed the Balenciaga ad, which showed a young girl dressed in all black with dragons on the wall behind her while she stood in the middle of depictions of different phases of the moon. I told you then that the little girl represented the new moon since she was wearing all black, and the moon is black during the new moon phase. I also told you that the reference to the moon was meant to point to werewolves and vampires as well.
Some things are better left forgotten.
This directly connects to Herschel Walker's mention of vampires and werewolves and Obama's comments mocking him. Like all of these political races, both the Democratic and Republican candidates are really on the same team. Both sides share the same allegiance to the devil, and both are working toward the formation of the New World Order. The manufactured contention between the two red and blue factions are only for the purposes of manipulating public opinion. These red and blue factions represent the two houses of Freemasonry. Mike Tyson, who has a depiction of the all-seeing eye tattooed on his face, explained this relationship between the red and the blue.
Boxing was developed from gangs. You know, the old Irish guys, old Dutch guys. It was a guy named Jim Bleacher.
Wow,
and he always put his slash on his corner. So that's how we got the red and blue corner. But you know what the red means? That's my gang. That's the representation of the gang, my political gang. If I win this fight, like the ancient, if I win this fight against your champion, it's all gangs. Gangs. It's all originated from gangs. The whole world. If my gang wins this fight, we own the whole district until you get a champion that could beat my fighter. If you don't want to accept that challenge, my gang against your gang, then a lot of people die. So they pick their champion and his champion, and the red represents, and the blue, Democrat and Republican.
Get the out of here.
And that was all. That's what the corners represent. No one knows that, but it represents Democrat and Republican.
This has proven to be a very effective method used to keep the people divided against themselves, so that they will never even think of banding together in order to fight against the sadistic, merciless, homicidal, sanguinary tyrants who sit at the top of the pyramid, controlling all of this madness. But please, let me stress this point, because I don't want you to miss it. When I speak of those who sit at the top of the pyramid, I'm directly referencing the bestial and monstrously evil non-human entities that have, since their fall in Genesis 6:4, made their abode here on earth, hidden in the midst of mankind. Ephesians 6:12 confirms the truth of my statement when it declares, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Therefore, the terms werewolf or vampire are nothing more but cognomens for Democrat or Republican. But even more succinctly, these werewolves or vampires are fallen angels in human form. What's most disturbing about this truth is that they hide it in plain sight, and they have told you these things directly several times in the past. However, most aren't paying attention or spiritually evolved enough to understand what they see or hear. The movie The Matrix told us that vampires, werewolves, and aliens are nothing more than rebellious fallen angels.
See those birds? At some point, a program was written to govern them. A program was written to watch over the trees and the wind, sunrise and sunset. There are programs running all over the place. The ones doing their job, doing what they were meant to do, are invisible. You'd never even know they were here. But the other ones, well, you hear about them all the time.
I've never heard of them.
Of course you have. Every time you've heard someone say they saw a ghost or an angel. Every story you've ever heard about vampires, werewolves, or aliens is the system assimilating some program that's doing something they're not supposed to be doing.
Notice in this clip from the movie Van Helsing, Dracula calls Van Helsing the Archangel Gabriel, as well as the left hand of God.
We are both part of the same great game, Gabriel. But we need not find ourselves on opposite sides of the board. It must be such a burden, such a curse, to be the left hand of God.
But it gets deeper. Obama was visiting Atlanta in support of Raphael Warnock. The name Raphael is also the name of an archangel. Raphael is usually known as the angel of healing, but according to the book of Enoch, the Zohar, and so-called Jewish legends, he is also the prince of Hades. According to the book of Tobit, when performing his duties as prince of the underworld, he goes by the name Azariah, and the Zohar equates him with the king of hell, the horned god, Baal. He is said to rule over air, which connects him to the Chicago Bull, Air Jordan, and ultimately points to Obama as the prince of the power of the air, the horned bull god. Raphael Warnock's middle name is Gamaliel. Now check this out. In Jewish mysticism, the Qliphoth, which is the reverse of the tree of life, also called the tree of death, is a diagram which shows the representations of evil forces in the mystical teachings of Judaism. Notice the ninth sphere in the Qliphoth is associated with Gamaliel and Lilith. This is a reference back to the 9 circles of hell that we discussed previously. The ninth sphere is the elder sphere of the moon, wherein the Qliphoth is the dark moon, who is Lilith, the demon. The fact that Lilith represents the dark moon connects back to the Balenciaga ad as well. Remember, the child was wearing black because she represents the new moon, which occurs when the earth is facing the dark side of the moon. Keep this in mind, because I'll show you how the dark side of the moon is connected to this story later. The sphere of Gamaliel is associated with a visible incorporeal spirit that is the vampire, which drinks blood from the sleeping at night. So clearly, Herschel Walker and Barack Obama's mention of vampires and werewolves during this campaign against Raphael Gamaliel Warnock was not coincidence. They represent 2 sides of the same coin, pretending to be in conflict when in fact they are both working in tandem towards the same goal. Notice the logo for Warnock contains the pyramid and all-seeing eye, which lets you know that he is definitely working towards the formation of the one world government of Antichrist. There's more symbolism to be found in this logo, but we'll come back to it later. The name Warnock is a play on words for warlock, which is a hybrid of a witch and a demon, created when a witch sells their soul to a demon. Warlocks are said to look completely human, but they manifest demonic and inhuman traits. The actual meaning of the word warlock is traitor, deceiver, literally a truce breaker, a liar, and breaker of a covenant, pact, or promise. Clearly then, this is meant to point to the Antichrist, who will confirm a covenant for 7 years and then break that covenant 3.5 years later, as found in Daniel 9:27, which declares, "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate." If we break down the name Warnock further, we get war, which means armed combat, fighting, and struggle, plus knock, which is a metal or plastic piece at the end of an arrow, having a notch for the bowstring. the connection to war and struggle, as well as the bow and arrow, points to the Antichrist, since we are told this in Revelation 6:2. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth, conquering, and to conquer. The word conquer here is Strong's G3529, Nike, which means victory. This is the reason Obama gave his speech promoting the One World Government, or New World Order, at Victory Column in Berlin.
The walls between the countries with the most and those with the least cannot stand. The walls between races and tribes, natives and immigrants, Christians and Muslims and Jews cannot stand. These now are the walls we must tear.
In 2005, Warnock became senior pastor of the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, which is Martin Luther King Jr.'s former congregation. The name Martin Luther King, or MLK, is another name for the horned bull god Baal or Molech, and suggests the phrase Baal is king. This connects back to the sacrifice of young Dolph in Memphis, which boasts a giant pyramid as a representation to the pyramids of Giza, since Memphis was the capital of ancient Egypt. You remember, Dolph was depicted as the king of Memphis and the king of hell in his video, since Amiri means kingdom, and he also used the pyramid in all-seeing eye symbolism. Not only that, but Dolph was also connected with MLK through his association with the Lorraine Motel.
Good evening. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, 39 years old and a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and the leader of the nonviolent civil rights movement in the United States, was assassinated in Memphis tonight.
And yet I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the considerable controversy that your generous decision has generated. In part, this is because I am at the beginning and not the end of my labors on the world stage.
A sniper's bullet cut down Dr. King as he stood on a hotel balcony in Memphis.
The Lorraine Motel is a favorite place for Negro leaders to stay while in Memphis.
Ultimately, Warnock's connection with MLK, which is the name of the horned bull god Baal or Molech, is meant to be a reference to the Chicago Bull, and therein it is intended to point to number 44, Obama, as a horned bull god. This is the true reason Obama is supporting Warnock. In fact, this is the same horned bull god that was worshipped at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, England. Remember I showed you how the mascot for the games wore a t-shirt with 3 number 4s on it, which gives us the phrase 444, again pointing to Obama as the horned bull god. Earlier, I told you that the Democrats and Republicans, both Walker and Warnock, are playing on the same team and working towards the same goal. That being said, the symbol of the 3 number 4s used by the horned bull god at the Birmingham Commonwealth Games proves this point. Check this out. During his professional career in football, Herschel Walker wore the number 34, or 3 4s, a reference to the phrase 444. Not only that, but Walker was born in Augusta, Georgia, and in high school he wore the number 0 or O, which also points to Obama, who was born in August. We saw this reference to Obama through the name August previously, when August Alsina came out as gay around the same time that the mass shooting at Club Q, which is actually Club O, occurred.
Then, what do you know? Love showed up.
Even the sign for Club O uses the pyramid and all-seeing eye as well. I also told you that the bull god at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, England was represented in its sister city, Birmingham, Alabama, or Bama, through the number 44 in the movie Forrest Gump. It is no coincidence then that Warnock began his ministry as an intern at the 6th Avenue Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, or Bama, as a reference to the Viking, sixth king, or sixth god. Interestingly enough, Herschel Walker once played for the Vikings as well. Not only that, but Warnock attended Union Theological Seminary, a school affiliated with Columbia University. We know Diana Columbia is the moon goddess who is also associated with Lucifer, the light bearer. The moon has even more significance in both these events. We know that Diana Columbia, who is also Artemis, carries the bow and arrow, which connects back to the name Warnock, since Nock is the back part of the arrow where the bowstring sits, and the bow and arrow is a weapon of war. Warnock's affiliation with Columbia University also connects to the launch of the Artemis 1 rocket on its mission to the moon.
7, 6, 5, 4-stage engine start. 3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The launch of this rocket into the firmament of heaven is actually symbolic of the moon goddess Diana Columbia, or Lucifer, the light bearer, who is at war with God and is symbolically shooting arrows at God in heaven. Obama appeared with Warnock in Atlanta on Thursday, December 1st. This is important because 21 days before Obama's appearance in Atlanta was November 11th, the day of Takeoff's funeral, where he was given the Phoenix Award as a reference to Lucifer rising from his own ashes. This ritual was continued 28 days later on December 9th, when Brittany Griner, who played for the Phoenix Mercury, arrived back on American soil.
We want to get right to that breaking news this morning. Phoenix Mercury star Brittany Griner is on American soil right now. You can see the plane that she traveled in from overseas landing this morning in San Antonio. This happened just about 1 hour ago as this plane pulled onto the tarmac.
The number 28 is 2 8s, or 88, which represents Mercury, the trickster god and guide to souls in the underworld. Mercury also carries the caduceus, which is found in the lap of Baphomet. Griner was arrested in Russia after hashish oil was found in her luggage, and on August 4th, she was sentenced to 9 years in prison. We know August 4th is Obama's birthday, and the number 9 represents Satan, according to the founder of the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey. Clearly, they are pointing us to Obama as the son of perdition. 28 days is also one lunar cycle, and on December 9th, the moon was at its waning gibbous phase. Here, you see Takeoff wearing a Pink Floyd shirt with the pyramid and all-seeing eye on it. The group Pink Floyd had an album called The Dark Side of the Moon, in which they also used the pyramid and rainbow. This lets you know that the Balenciaga ad, which showed the child in the position of the dark moon, Gamaliel, Lilith, which represents vampires and werewolves, as well as the launch of the Artemis 1 rocket to the moon, Takeoff's sacrifice, and his connection with the dark side of the moon were definitely orchestrated to occur in conjunction. We know this to be true because he is pictured wearing the Pink Floyd shirt prior to a sacrifice, and he also had an album called The Last Rocket where he appeared as a spaceman on a rocket to the moon. The 21 days between Takeoff's funeral in Atlanta and Obama's appearance in Atlanta is significant because the number 21 can be expressed as 777, which represents the lightning which fell from heaven in the Hebrew phrase Barack Obama, as found in Luke 10:18, when Messiah described Satan's fall from heaven. As a side note, 21 Savage, who is from Atlanta, released an album with Drake called Her Loss on November 4th, 2022. The number 21 represents 777, or the lightning that fell from heaven, in the phrase Barack Obama. The name Drake means dragon and therefore represents the devil and Satan. Since Novum means 9, the date November 4th, 2022 gives us the number 946. Strong's Concordance lists G946 as Bedeligma, which means a foul and detestable thing, and abomination, as a reference to the abomination of desolation, as found in Daniel 9:27, after the warlock, liar, and truce-breaker breaks the covenant.
The United States believes that negotiations should result in two states with permanent Palestinian borders with Israel, Jordan, and Egypt, and permanent Israeli borders with Palestine. We believe the borders of Israel and Palestine should be based on the 1967 lines with mutually agreed swaps.
Again proving that Obama is the Antichrist, the abomination that causes desolation. Following the same logic, the date of Takeoff's funeral, November 11th, is 9/11 and points to Revelation 9/11 and the rise of the king of the bottomless pit, Abaddon or Polyon. This is the true reason Takeoff was given the Phoenix Award in a city that uses the phoenix rising from its own ashes, as it was meant to represent the rise of the king of the pit. On December 1st, the day Obama appeared in Atlanta with Warnock, the moon was in its waxing gibbous phase. The waxing gibbous phase refers to the period of time when a heavenly body is more than half but not fully visible to an observer. This was symbolically meant to show that the son of perdition, the Antichrist, is more than half but not fully visible to the world as of yet. However, the time is fast approaching when he will make his appearance and become fully visible to the world, just like the werewolf is revealed during the full moon. Since decim means 10, the date December 1st gives us the number 101, which points to the false Christ as shown in the movie The Matrix.
Hallelujah. You're my savior, man. My own personal Jesus Christ.
Notice the one-eyed symbolism here. As I showed you earlier, the pyramid an all-seeing eye is prominently displayed in the Warlock logo. In addition to that fact, Warlock's logo also hides 3 letter V's, and in Hebrew, the letter V or Vav is 6. Thus, Warlock's logo contains the number of the beast, 666. Not only that, but if you flip one of the V's upside down and place it on top of the other V, you'll get the Freemasonic square and compass, as well as the 6-pointed star of Saturn, which is the star of Remphan, as found in Acts 7:43. Notice here that Dracula, the vampire, is wearing the 6-pointed star around his neck. You may be saying to yourself, but wait, isn't Raphael Warnock a so-called Christian reverend? To that I would say, indeed he is. However, we must always remember what the scriptures tell us concerning such things. Matthew 7:15-17 declares, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit." The reference to a ravenous wolf points directly to the connection to vampires and werewolves in this event. That being said, let's take a look at Reverend Warnock's fruit, so to speak, to see if it is indeed evil and contrary to God. On Easter Sunday, 2021, Warnock's Twitter account tweeted, "The meaning of Easter is more transcendent than the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Whether you are a Christian or not, through a commitment to helping others, we are able to save ourselves." So, on Easter Sunday, which fell on April 4th in 2021, which gives us a reference to the rising sun, which is also Obama's logo.
This means a sun rising over the horizon, the dawning of a new day in American politics.
As well as the number 44, also a reference to Obama. The good Reverend claimed that we can save ourselves. This means that Warnock believes that we do not need the blood of the Paschal Lamb who was crucified on Passover, which also happened to fall on the same day, April 4th, 2021, the very day that this so-called Reverend chose to disrespect Messiah's sacrifice on the cross. Not only that, but remember when number 44, Obama, said this,
"You cannot sit back and wait for a savior. We don't need a Messiah. Don't need a Messiah. Don't need a Messiah."
It's clear then who this so-called Reverend really worships. In addition to this, Warnock also supports the Respect Marriage Act, which requires the U.S. federal government to recognize the validity of same-sex marriage. Again, remember, Obama was the first sitting U.S. president to come out in support of same-sex marriage.
For me personally, it is important for me to go ahead and affirm that I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
Therefore, Reverend Warnock is a hypocrite who puts on a false appearance of virtue and religion in order to fool the people, to lead them astray.
Mr. Walker has been talking about issues that are of great importance to the people of Georgia, like whether it's better to be a vampire or a werewolf.
Matthew 23:27 declares, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. For ye are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones, and of all uncleanness. It is abundantly clear from all of this information that the entire world is being prepared to worship Barack Obama as the Antichrist, the son of perdition, the abomination of desolation. Therefore, if you have not given your life to the Most High by accepting the blood sacrifice of the Paschal Lamb, Yahushua HaMashiach, which was shed on the cross as a propitiation for the redemption of sins, the time to do so is now. Amen. Shalom.